Welcome to Between the Studs, and I am between the original studs today, Chris and Mock Master Mark. Today we are talking about custom building, but we're not talking about custom as in the artistry and how to do it, tips and tricks and techniques. No, we're talking about the business side, and perhaps giving you a little more insight as to why customs tend to be so expensive. Chris and Mark, we have a bunch of our own customs and some other customs that we sell. This is from Brickmania.
Yeah, that was a trade-in we got. A customer traded that in. Yeah. I think retail on that would probably be $300-$400.
Yeah, $350-ish. So.
If it were in one of these Brickmania kits.
Can you explain who Brickmania is?
Brickmania was one of the first companies to really hit it off making custom Lego sets. Mm-hmm. They're based out of Minnesota, and they focus on military because Lego doesn't make military, so there's a huge demand there for that. Mm-hmm. And they have multiple retail stores. They just opened up their latest one in Chantilly, Virginia, right outside of where Brick Fair holds their
So they're pretty big. They have brick and mortar stores?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I believe they have at least 3. They have one in the Schaumburg Mall up there where Brick World holds their event.
Wisely.
And, they've got a really good thing going for him. He's, it's owned by Daniel Siskind, and he created one of the first, Lego Ideas sets.
Yeah, Lego Factory.
Blacksmith shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was even before Factory, I think.
It's right, yeah.
He's made his living making MOCs.
Exactly.
That's amazing.
Living the dream.
They've got a really cool logo, and they package sets, and they've become extremely successful doing it.
Where is their factory?
I wouldn't call it a factory. Their assembly area is in Minnesota.
Okay.
I think it's outside of Minneapolis. And they have a shop there where you can go in and see it. We're not a reseller.
Oh, we're not.
So
okay.
if we get it in from a customer, so a customer was up at one of their stores and they bought this set here thinking it was an actual tank. It's just the side of the tank.
It's an add-on.
Yeah, so fortunately they didn't open it or build it, so we can still sell it as a retail product. We're selling it for $65, and it's got a price tag on the back here of $85 from when they originally sold it in the store. Their packaging is very high quality. That's a really solid box. It's better than a Lego box, I would say.
So why $65?
Originally it was $85.
Why $85?
There's a lot that goes into that price. So Lego retails for 10 cents per piece on average. So if you buy a creator box or a classic box, you can get it for 5 cents a piece because it's cheaper pieces. You don't have big elements in there, and you don't have minifigures in there. But when you get into your typical sets, and then your license themes, you're around 10 cents per piece. Ninjago's not a license theme, so usually that might be 8 cents per piece.
And city sets have very large specialized pieces, so they tend to be a little higher.
They're starting to get
cents.
more expensive because they are putting those specialized pieces in there, like the water cannon and the parachute and stuff.
The front of the airplanes and things
that
like
actually adds a lot of cost per piece. So looking at it, cost per piece, Brickmania is buying those pieces on the retail market to make their sets out of real Lego bricks, and he's paying retail prices for these things, if not higher, because he has to buy higher quantities. And in order to buy higher quantities, like I can go out and I can buy, this Lego hair probably for 10 cents on Bricklink. But if I want to buy 1,000 of them, it's going to cost me 20, 25 cents, 30 cents.
That's odd, because normally things work the opposite. If you're buying in bulk, you get less. Why does Lego work in the opposite?
I would say Bricklink works in the opposite because there's a couple different reasons, but they all end up costing more money when you want quantity pieces. One reason is let's say if we have 500 of these hair pieces, somebody else has 500, and somebody else has 500. There are companies out there, Bricklink stores, that'll go buy up all of them on the market and then resell them for 3, 4, 5 times as much money because they're the only ones with that piece. And
or anything more than a few of them,
Yeah. So the reason you can go on there and you can find this for sale for probably, I don't know, even a penny maybe. But it's just one guy. You have an extra piece in your collection, and that's all you've got, or a couple of these, and you just put them on Bricklink, and no one's going to buy it from you because this is the only thing they need, and they're not going to pay $3.95 to have that shipped to them.
Yeah.
Plus, when you're somebody like Brickmania or us or Battle Brick, you need to buy this in bulk. You've got to find somebody that has more of these.
You can't buy 10 from here, 40 from here. You
Correct.
gotta,
So bulk prices go up, and if you have these in bulk, you're not just trying to dump them. You're a business that's for profit, trying to make money. You're not just a hobbyist trying to get rid of your spare pieces. So you're trying to make money on them. So assuming you have 10 cents per piece into it, and then you've got your packaging costs, your store costs, your retail store costs, the cost to build the instructions. I've looked at packaging like this for our own custom sets that we do. This costs so much money. I'm not sure if we'll ever be at this level because of how much it costs. Battle Brick is another good example over here. We do sell these.
So we are a seller of Battle Brick. Okay.
Battle Brick is, number one, he's local here in Atlanta, and his products are just more affordable for us to carry. If we were to carry the Brickmania ones, they're more expensive because they're more detailed. There's a lot more into them.
Packaging more expensive.
We just can't afford to sit on that much product.
Yeah.
You know, whereas with Battle Brick, it's about a third of the price. They're not as detailed, but they're good.
Yeah.
And you see what you get. I mean, it looks good.
They're smaller too in general.
A little bit smaller, but it does the trick.
It's a tank. It looks cool.
Which is the important thing. Battle Brick's packaging is a little, I mean, it's still good, but it's a little softer.
Yeah, thinner material.
Yeah, and then he's put a label over his packaging's come a long way. It used to be just a white box. Now it's a camo box, which is really cool looking. The same thing with Brickmania. His packaging has come a long way over the years. That's why your cost per piece is so high. So Brickmania sets can average around $1 per piece.
Yeah, and I imagine, like you said, it's a business, so they're paying people, they're there to make a profit, so it takes me a second to pull 5 hair pieces. But it might take me 30 minutes to count a few hundred of them. So I'm paying an individual to do that labor and not do other things for that company. So there's an additional cost if you're a business, is the cost of the labor to do it. And another point I want to hit that Chris mentioned that I want to reiterate, people who do this have to buy in the aftermarket, or they find deals direct from Lego whenever they can. But for the most part, they're buying very specific things, so they have to get it on the aftermarket. And the aftermarket is not going to be 10 cents per piece on most pieces. They have to pay those aftermarket prices, even when they're buying in bulk, which was surprising to me. I didn't realize that. You might be asking yourself, well, wait a minute, Lego can make a set this size with packaging this good, and they're not going to be this expensive. Well, because when they make a set, they make raw materials. So in the end, the molds cost them a lot of money, the patents cost them a lot of money, they have more overhead. But when it comes down to mass production, the cost per piece for them, we're talking fractions of cents. In some cases. Would you guess?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Gotta be.
So it costs them significantly less to make one set than it would an individual, because they're making the raw material.
Mark pointed out earlier when we were looking at this, there is a custom piece on here. Which one was it?
You got the 2 gun points on this little turret thing. Those are custom pieces as far as I can tell. Like they've made those or 3D printed those to go to their set.
I believe they manufacture these. They have them made. They probably design the mold, and then they make multiples of these. This is probably cheaper than the Lego bricks in here.
Yeah.
It's cheaper for them to make this custom part than it is to buy these Lego pieces. The tank here, if this is a Brickmania tank, I remember a few years ago Brickmania did a Kickstarter campaign where they wanted a more realistic tank tread, and they raised money to get the molds to make custom tank treads that are more realistic. For me, the Lego links are fine. The enthusiasts that are out there, they like these custom links, and they do work really well, and they look good. Battle Brick has this custom links as well. A lot of times they can only do limited runs. So they'll go out on the aftermarket, they'll buy up all the pieces they need to make this, and then the pieces are gone. You can't get anymore. And I know we sell on Bricklink. We've made mistakes before. So we might have offered this dish in black, So they do their whole design because we might have 10,000 of them, right? And I'm just saying this
Yeah,
hypothetically. So they go online and they look to see what's available out there. Oh, okay, there's a store out there called Atlanta Brick Co. that has this piece in black, and maybe we listed it wrong, and it's in dark bluish gray, or vice versa. And so they base their entire design on us making a mistake or somebody else making a mistake that's out. I'm just being hypothetical.
Yeah.
You know? They could only do a limited run based on how many of the aftermarket parts they can get. Not us.
Not us.
They're
Never
taking
us.
a bit of a risk. Yeah. We never make mistakes on Bricklink. Yeah.
And you could buy the parts that you need from Lego directly on Bricks and Pieces, but they have a very limited
You
availability.
can only order like 200 per piece, or even like so.
They don't have a lot of pieces on there. Like this
Not
dish
all of 'em.
probably what is that, a 2x2 dish? Probably came in 12 colors. They might have 2 Bricks and Pieces.
They definitely don't have all the pieces. They have a lot of current
Plus,
ones,
there's a limit, you said.
and sometimes they'll be out of stock. So especially the more desirable, high value pieces will be out of stock completely.
But buying from Lego is the cheapest. Like, some of those pieces are below 10 cents per piece.
Yes, and then also on Bricklink, if you have like a more specialized piece, like a minifigure torso or an animal, if you can get it on Bricks and Pieces, it's usually much cheaper than the resale value on Bricklink. Even if that value is pretty market fair, like if the Black Panther or the tiger or something like that, that's like $10, $12 or more on Bricklink, it's only going to be $4 or $5 on Bricks and Pieces because that's how much it costs Lego to make it. So,
Yeah.
But then your basic parts could be cheaper on Bricklink.
Oh yeah, usually.
They could be.
Yeah.
So it just depends. Somebody might be buying, a Bricklink store might buy a ton of one set for certain pieces, and then no one else wants all the other pieces in the set, and so they lower their prices on those to push them out.
You have to then pay someone to design it. You're paying for their time to take it all apart, put it in a box, package it, ship it out. So labor, I've always heard this, and maybe a lot of you know this already, but labor is the most expensive part to owning a business. And it's the one thing that goes up over time, not down.
Now, it's a big thing in the news right now is labor. If you want good labor, you have to pay for it. Get what you pay for.
Yep.
And being an owner of a Lego store, I have to pay people to play with Lego.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
If I don't pay them, I don't get what I pay for.
Yeah.
We have tried volunteers a lot, and you get what you pay for.
He also makes money off us because we're Lego fans too.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
there's a cyclical system.
There's that. Yeah.
Probably not.
We can't say no.
That's right. So I did want to highlight this beauty. This is another thing from Battle Bricks. This is just a cool set. This is my favorite set they make. If this was a Lego set, how much would this be from Lego? If in a fantasy world they made something
Maybe
like
like
this.
$50. I was thinking
20 to 30.
even
20
cheaper.
Yeah,
from
really?
There's no big elements. There's no big parts
That's
in
true.
there.
What's the
The
part
windscreen,
count, though?
maybe.
269 parts at 10 cents a part. You're talking, for a
Yeah,
license,
$30.
for if that were Ninjago, it might be $20.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ninjago seems to be the best
cheap.
It is.
part per price per
Okay.
part.
Such a great
ratio,
deal for Ninjago stuff. Yeah.
So in a fantasy world, this is like $30 tops.
Yeah.
$30 tops. 40 if it was like a Star Wars or something.
Yeah.
This is $120 from Battle Bricks for all the reasons we talked about already. I love this thing. If I was going to buy one Battle Brick thing, it would be this. This is basically an anti-tank gun on wings. The military apparently has tried to retire this, but they haven't come up with a design that's better. In Transformers, if you remember that scene, the first Transformers, where he says, "Bring the rain." That's something, that's a code they actually say that they call these guys in, and they just blow everything up. They call it the Warthog because it's so ugly. I love that about it. It's got the big distinctive engines on the side, and it looks like a Warthog. I love this plane, and I love how this is a mini chibi minifig version of it. They've got the sticker for the distinctive Warthog face on the side.
It's worth pointing out that's actually his expert line, which is a little more detailed than the average set of his. That's why the
Really?
price is a little bit more because he's putting in more work into the design.
I
of the
think
set.
he has another Warthog that's about $80.
Yeah.
Does he?
So there's a
Yeah.
bargain version. This is the expert version.
Are they about the same size, or is
No, the expert's
Roughly.
bigger.
Yeah, so I think it's a little bit bigger, more detailed, probably a little more scale accurate. So.
And he's the stickers are another thing that are really cool. Those are custom stickers that he's got on there.
on the minifig too, right?
I think that's custom printed, possibly.
Oh, that's custom printed. Okay.
That's custom printed for sure, yeah. Or, you know what, Mark, look at that. That could be a Star Wars torso.
Possibly.
That could be like one of the...
We'll
Thinking about
confirm
the
that
alien
at a later
pilot.
date for you guys.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Which would be totally fine if it was a Star Wars torso.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it looks good.
Yeah, it
It
matches.
gets the point. He's cost conscious, which is why we carry him.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for kids that come in the store. All the kids want tanks. And
Mm-hmm.
you got these tanks that are, $500 each, and they're just this big. So to be able to buy one for $85 seems like a lot of money for a lot of parents. And I'm like, go online and look at it.
Yeah.
If you want a real Lego tank, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Some cost-cutting things he has done here is his gray legs are not printed.
Mm-hmm.
That would be another $1 per set.
Any super rare pieces in this?
All pretty standard stuff. There's a few that are just a little less common, but there's still going to be like the windshields, something you have to find. Those discs, those dishes are
You
kind of hard to
cannot
find.
use rare pieces when you're doing these, or
Exactly.
you just won't be able to make any more sets. Or if you have to go back and change a piece, you have to change your instructions. You've got to change your artwork. I mean, you get to change your piece count possibly. It's a lot of work to make any changes. This is about 44 cents per piece. And if you were to go online and build a warthog like this, you say, I can build that. I'm going to order all the pieces to build that. Guess what it's going to cost you?
$120?
At
$80?
least probably $120.
Yeah.
And then let alone your time
Yeah.
that it's going to take you to get all those parts.
Shipping and all that.
Oh, yeah, the shipping, and you probably couldn't get all your parts from one person.
Mhm.
No.
So.
Is that really what kills it? Is the shipping?
No, I
in
wouldn't
most
say
cases?
it kills
Okay.
it, but it certainly adds, let's say if you're paying 10 cents a part, you're a couple cents per piece probably, depending on how many different people you have to buy from.
Raises the whole total up.
Yeah. We've tried to make our own sets that are this big. It costs so much money up front because you're buying so many pieces. We try to make 100 of each set that we make. So you're talking about 269 times 100, that's 27,000 pieces.
It's a ton
we
of
would
money.
have to
Yeah.
go in and order. And then sorting the pieces into the
Paying
right
someone
amount.
to
Yeah.
to count it and
oh
put it in
yeah,
bags.
it's so
Print out the
much
instructions.
work. And I know that Battle Brick Customs is a smaller family-owned business, so they do what they can to do things themselves to cut down on the cost so that they can offer their products at a better price.
That's a great segue to get into our own customs that we do sell at our store. Let's look at probably one of the oldest and one of the most iconic.
Oh yeah.
The Doctor Who Dalek. And his famous catchphrase is, of course,
Exterminate, exterminate.
Exterminate. Exterminate.
Oh, they have such a
is
great
it
job.
his? I said his.
I don't know if Daleks even go by that.
They're robots,
just,
right?
They're just like these little creatures inside a metal box of anger, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what they are.
I didn't realize the real Daleks came in so many colors.
Yeah, they actually had I think at first they were kind of like a copper bronze color most of the time, but then later they ended up going pretty wild with the color scheme.
This is like the rebel of the group. Like he's the young, has the hot rod version of the.
That's the fire Dalek.
What sells well for sets is something popular for one.
Yeah.
So the Dalek is popular, and then something that Lego does not make.
Yeah.
And I would not make these today because Lego came out with a Doctor Who set. But we came out with these before Lego came out with that Doctor Who set. I made that. But the first Dalek we made was about that big. It was so much more detail, but he wasn't minifigure scale. So then it was like, then we started selling the Doctor Who minifigures, our own custom. We call them purist customs because we used all unaltered Lego parts.
Oh, okay, so
Yeah.
Kit Bash.
Kit bash. Yeah, we
That's
kit
another
bash
term
them.
for it.
Yeah.
Kit Bash
And,
minifigs.
So we kit bashed minifigures, and we're making our own minifigures, and then we were like, oh, now we need a Dalek to fit that, and this was, after a few tries, this is what I was able to come up with. We do take scissors and we cut that wheel holder and
back.
off, but nobody notices, nobody cares.
We modded it. We didn't cut it up. We
It's a
modded
minor
it.
modification.
Modification, yeah. Actually, just take a pair of scissors and clip. That was one of our first ones. We've had different variations, and this is what we stuck with. But every part on here is so common, so that we can keep getting these. And if there were rare parts on them, we wouldn't be able to sell them because we wouldn't be able to make the kits.
You said the sales of these went down when Lego made Doctor Who?
Yeah, the sales went down because you could get them in the Doctor Who kit.
Yeah.
I don't even remember. How did the Lego Doctor
I can't
Dalek?
stand the Lego Doctor Who Daleks. They do have printed parts, which is cool, but they fall apart so easy. And we've had everybody tells us these are better. And I dropped one of these earlier, and look at this.
Yeah, nothing.
I mean, it doesn't fall apart. I'm going to bounce this off the wall. Okay. Get ready. I don't want to make a mess.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
It took that to fall apart, and it only came
right
apart
there in two pieces.
Yeah.
You know, it's
There's
still
only one
together.
stud connection there.
Whereas that Doctor Who, the Lego one, really falls apart.
How close in pieces were the two, or did they cheat
Very
with prints?
different. Very different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These are just a slightly larger than the Lego ones, but they're so much more sturdy, and I mean, I think that they fit the scale just fine.
So like this one here, we can't get the 3x3 dish in dark tan. So he's got a dark gray dish, but we can get it in red. So the red one has the red.
Oh, okay. See, same thing with the lime. Okay.
Yep, you could get that in metallic silver, and it looks really cool, but you just can't get them.
They're more
in bulk,
expensive.
and they're more expensive. Brown is more expensive than any of these other ones. Dark tan's more expensive, so he probably costs us, I don't know, $1 or $2 more to make. But you know, we just have to make it easy. We just put them all at a flat price of $12 each. You can tell what color it is by looking at the back. And then the instructions are in there. And I think, Mark, did you make those instructions?
That was a while ago, so it's hard to remember who was doing it at the time.
In
but
fact,
yeah.
this was before Stud.io, probably.
Oh.
Stud.io is...
Yeah, let's talk about that. What is Stud.io? Is it the program that most mock makers like Brickmania and Battle Bricks use for their instructions? Would they print them?
Yeah, there are multiple programs to do this, and people are always trying to make a new one. But then Bricklink kind of came on the scene and we're like, we're going to do a really good one. And that one's kind of been the mainstream one. It's still updated today. Some of the other programs like LDD, Draw, a few other ones are no longer updated. They're out of sync. They don't have the new pieces. So Bricklink has really kind of taken that niche and is got it under control at this point. It also has nice rendering and instruction capabilities, so it's pretty straightforward. I was able to figure it out. I think at this point most people would use that one, and it's starting to become more mainstream every day. So.
Is it something where you just drag and drop? Like, I want to start with this piece. I just pick from the
Essentially,
inventory and drop it in?
Pretty much. It has a little place on the side where it has all the pieces. You can search by number or name. Once you find the piece you're looking for, you can basically drag it in the right spot, and then you can use other keyboard shortcuts to change the position, rotate it, flip it, and it even has stuff where you can like clip onto stuff, and it recognizes what things can be clipped and unclipped, or even like ball joints posed and hoses. So it's pretty advanced stuff. So if you can get good at it and learn all the little tricks to it, you can do a lot of stuff.
And it's free. All you have to do is log on, have a login for
You just
Bricklink.
go and you download it. I don't even know if you
Okay.
need a Bricklink account to do it. I mean, that's also free.
Really?
So it's easy to utilize for that reason.
And you said it keeps track. There's a running log of all the pieces used and how many and what color.
You just click a button, create instructions, and all of a sudden you've got instructions for what you just built.
And it'll give you a list, right? Of every, you have 20 of this piece, you have 30 of this piece, you have 2 of this one in this color. And then you can take that list and order it on Bricklink?
There's the part of that where you can just make a wanted list, and then from there you can place orders to get all the pieces.
Now, do you have to painstakingly look for buyers, or will it automatically find the buyer with the most of?
Because it's in the wanted lists, it goes into that system. It then finds different stores and gives you different options for pricing and stuff. Because some stores that have all the pieces, but then they're more expensive and there's more shipping. But then if you buy from multiple stores, so it gives you different options for what you have.
And then it goes to the normal Bricklink functionality after that.
Pretty much.
On your wanted list, you can't set a max price that you want to pay. So it won't pull those stores when you hit buy all on your wanted list. If there is a store with all of your parts, it'll show you that at the top. It'll say this store has 370 parts out of 370 parts that you need for your kit. But those parts could be 3 or 4 times as expensive as if you were to buy half from this guy, a third from this guy. The problem is so then you have to go back and research, and you got to open up multiple windows and say, okay, am I paying the right price for this part? Because somebody could have that dish for the cheapest on Bricklink, but then all these other parts are like 10 times as expensive, and then people make mistakes. They'll move the decimal over on when they're entering it for sale on Bricklink, they'll, instead of being 10 cents, it'll be $10. People will contact us and say, hey, why is this part $23? And it's like, user error.
It's $2.30.
Yeah.
And then sometimes that part really is that expensive, or maybe it was because it was a rare part, and then Lego came back out with it, and then the price fell down.
While we're on the subject, and we'll get back to this in a second, but I'm just curious. Is it easier to design with physical bricks, or would you prefer to design in Stud.io? Because that way you have access to everything.
So there's kind of pros and cons to both approaches. I would say I prefer physical bricks because then, and I also have a basic understanding of I know this is fairly easy to get versus I know that's probably a rare color or shape. And so when I'm building with physical bricks, I know it's, first of all, physically possible. Secondly, it's how difficult it is to build. General sense of how rare the pieces are. Because it's like, if I'm building, say I was building this tank, and I'm having a lot of trouble finding these little pins that go on this flex tube, I'd be like, okay, we're having trouble finding these pins, then we would know to look up and see how difficult, how expensive the piece is. Or like these brown curved 2x2, it's like a slope brick. I think these are a little bit hard to find, and so we would learn that by just building with it, or trying to collect a few to make more than one. You know, you'd immediately know, okay, this is a hard to find piece. We need to think about, do we want to spend the money on the extra piece, or do we want to try a different piece that's more common and easier to source? Online, if you're doing it digitally, you don't have to worry about all that. You have a much greater catalog of pieces to work with. However, if you don't know all your stuff down to the T, you could be getting something like this wedge piece in here, could be super rare now. And it could be $1 per piece. And suddenly your set goes from, you're trying to keep it to a, $50 set or an $80 set, suddenly it becomes a $120 set because it costs you a couple dollars per piece and the shipping is outrageous. So it's like more margin for error on just digital design, especially for sets. If you're doing it for like a one-off thing for yourself, doesn't really matter. You don't mind spending the extra few dollars on one time. But if it's multiplied like that, I'd rather build with the bricks. But that's just my approach. Some people do know all their stuff and they're doing the math for every single piece when they design this stuff.
When it has the color palette and it has the pieces, do those two lists talk to each other? In other words, does it say, yeah, lime green exists in Lego, but this piece doesn't exist in lime green?
Yeah.
If it give you the option of having these impossible colors and pieces?
So,
it does.
So Stud.io, now here's the thing. It'll say whether it's, if I remember correctly, when you're building with those pieces, it'll be like, you can just do it, but then once you go to print instructions or something like that, or even go to order it, you'll immediately realize, okay, this piece either doesn't exist or it's super rare. So it does let you know, but it's not like very obvious.
While you're building.
It should be pulling a lot of data from Bricklink, which is who created it. And Bricklink will tell you known colors.
Yeah.
So I can list this piece on Bricklink as chrome green.
Glow in the dark.
Even
something
though it
weird,
never came in chrome green. But it'll tell me that it's not a known color.
Yeah.
But even before you get to that step, when you're actually building and pulling and dragging and dropping, it won't tell you.
It's been a couple months since I did instructions, but I believe it does have some notification of whether it's like a known piece or not a known piece. So,
Got it.
But that being said, if you're just selecting what you think is light gray and it's actually like chrome silver, and you're not paying attention, it could easily get stuff like that mixed in.
So you enjoy building live. So let's say on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is building in person with Lego bricks. Where would you put building on Stud.io?
So as in difficulty or enjoyment?
Enjoyment.
Enjoyment. It's pretty fun, but I would say it's a lot slower because you're having to rotate every piece, and that's like a natural motion for your hand versus trying to actually press keys to move it around.
But do you save time not searching for the pieces? Because you
Actually,
can just type in the piece now.
so-
you don't have to go to your inventory.
It's true, but some of the naming conventions are just a little bit different than what we would just think in our minds. So when you're searching for a specific clip, for example, it's like, oh, it's actually, in Bricklink, it's a tile modified 1x1 clip upright versus a 1x1 clip or plate model. So it's like, if you don't know exactly, and I know most of them, like probably 60% of them, but I don't know that 40%, and it's sometimes it can actually slow me down more versus just going over to where we keep all the clips in the drawer and just getting one.
So where would you put the enjoyment of building?
Probably in the 4.5 range.
4.5.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
And then one problem, this is interesting to note, in this case I was designing this guy on Stud.io, and I was trying to get the slightly newer version of the 1x1 tile modified with clip on his shoulder. And I selected the wrong variant of the part. because Bricklink does make that distinction in some cases, and you can choose to have a undetermined type or have that determined type. And so I got the wrong one, which is older and only came in a select line from like the early 2000s, and suddenly this piece is looking way more expensive than it should. I'm like, okay, there's a problem here, so I had to go and get the newer version, the rounded version, which is more common and more readily available. And so it's like little things like that you have to really, it's a bit of a learning curve.
I love this thing. What do you call it?
This is the Battle Babies Battle Mech. It is pretty fun. It's basically like in a dystopian world where these little infants are now controlling, horrible machines of war to do battle and damage, and so they have this gigantic kind of anime sword. It's got a rocket on his shoulder. It's got this huge Gatling gun.
I love how simple this is, but it looks exactly like what it's supposed to.
Exactly.
It's you can tell immediately what it is, and it has this happy little baby. We were talking about now they make the Brickpocalypse.
Oh, that's even better. Yeah.
The baby's in there, so that would fit even better.
Exactly.
So, oh my goodness, this is horrifyingly adorable, I think, is how that would be what's on the package.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, that would be a good tagline.
We should probably put that on
adorable. Yeah, where's the package for
I
that?
don't know if we have one here.
What was the inspiration for coming up with that? Just because it was entertainingly funny?
We've seen things like that before at conventions.
Yeah, some sadistic people had fun with stuff like this, and so
once the baby came out,
yeah,
people started putting him in mechs and stuff. So we didn't invent that.
No, that's not
but
new.
we loved seeing it. And
this is an original design, though. So.
Yes, that was original, and that's better than anything else I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The other ones are good, and we have another employee, John Snyder, who was making baby mech, his own baby mechs and tanks and stuff like that. He was going to build an army for a tank battles game that we play. Mark was asked to make a baby mech, and this is better than you could possibly ask for. It's a lot of pieces too.
Yeah, they're all really
just small. And then we were going to see if this did well. We actually did a Kickstarter campaign, do tanks, attack helicopters, Warthog.
Like an ATV,
If the Kickstarter campaign did well, it was a small goal. It was like a $1,000 goal. We did like 800, 900. It was
shy.
This close.
Oh.
And I wish we had dropped the goal a little bit, because people want those. They ask all the time, hey, when are you coming out with the rest of the Battle Babies line? We're gonna go ahead and, after like 2 years, we just decided we're gonna go ahead and come out with the rest of the line. So we've got the attack helicopter, the Warthog, kind of like the Halo, and then the tank.
Just the juxtaposition is so funny to have the cute with the horrible, because you could do the bunny now. I mean, you can do all sorts of cute things.
You could put a bunny in there, or a little bird, or anything you want.
The cute little blue bird.
Exactly.
Yes, that'd be amazing.
Like Friends animals would be a perfect use in here.
This little bear looking over this
We may
horrible...
have to do expansion, so it's not just babies, but other cute animals are now going to battle in this apocalyptic world.
Anything adorable.
How much do we sell this one for? Is it 20?
I think it's more like a 16, $15.99 or $14.99.
This one, usually we try to keep them in
20, I'm not sure.
in the $12 range, because it just costs so much money, and it's so much hard work to get these parts.
Smaller is more affordable.
Believe it or not, it is hard sorting these parts out.
Yeah.
And people make mistakes, and it would be awful if you went to build your model and didn't have all the right parts. I think we've all been there before. It's like trying to complete a puzzle without that last piece. I've done every single one of these myself at my house. I don't let other people touch them when I'm sorting the parts.
Yeah.
After we get it all in. And it is a lot of work. A lot of times I'll go and I'll order, we try to make 100 of each set. So we made 100 Battle Babies. So you've got to order 400 binoculars. And then we've also got it on our Gatling gun here. There's 8 more on there. So that was 800 binoculars. Get the right quantity, do the math, get the right parts, and then you realize you didn't order enough of that one part. Or the Bricklink seller that you bought it from, or even Lego, didn't send you the right part, or they didn't send you enough of the right part. And now it's too late to go back and even figure out who that was.
Yeah.
And now you always have to go back and order more parts. So then you're delayed again. And
so it almost never works out perfect the first time.
No, and the turnaround time of getting these out is
pretty slow.
It's 3, 4, 5 months sometimes to get sets out.
And then we also do packaging for them too. So that's added costs and time to get that design, then shipped to us.
Mark was doing our packaging, and then he kind of showed me how to do it, and I started doing it just because it's so much fun. I really like doing the packaging. Mark did the alien xenomorph packaging with the artwork for that. And he's so simple. He's a lot of fun. He's not in quite the right pose right now.
Usually a little more hunched.
That was made by Michaela Chernisky, now Chode, I think. She just got married. They used to work for us. I'm not sure if it was her design or not. She's the one that got us started making.
Yeah, that's another of our original sets.
We've been selling that one for a long time.
We've shown the chopper on our podcast.
Have we? Okay.
Yeah, when we were talking about the Cars one, Gearheads, that was on there.
Yeah, that's right. And Ed is my business partner. He's a part owner in the company, and he works weekends. And he inspired this because he is a biker. He was at the store this morning, and he had his motorcycle. I don't know if you saw him. Justin, you saw it.
I did.
Mark, you did this, right?
Yeah.
Again, this was in our old building, and this was one of our first designs. And
early designs, yeah.
Mark killed it. I mean, he nailed it.
It looks like a chopper.
Yeah.
It definitely looks like an awesome
lowrider. This is Ed's minifigure.
And that is also very accurate from what I've heard. I've never seen him without his shirt on, but I've heard that
he's big into CrossFit, you know.
He does CrossFit, so he must look like that. And then you put him by his bike, and he looks great.
Yeah.
It works out.
I wanted to go back to something you said about designing the instructions. There are Lego creators that have made their living doing nothing but making instructions and then selling them.
Yeah.
How does that work? Where do you sell them? How do you get into that?
Lego Instructions is actually quite a bit of a business because a lot of people love to build Lego sets, stuff, and they want to do something a little bit more than just what Lego is providing in their sets, and they often look to other designs because they don't feel quite ready to do their own take on it, right? Custom modulars is one. Custom ships, vehicles, you see custom military vehicles. People will design these because they are really experienced in the program. A lot of stud IO is happening. They're able to sell those online, usually for fairly affordable prices if it's just the instructions. I've seen them sold on eBay as well. Wherever you can find a place that works is good. Like I've seen there's various websites that you can go to and download instructions for a whole variety of things, not just vehicles, but also like characters, creatures, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Do these people sell them themselves, or do they sell it to another company who then sell it in a huge database?
Sometimes both. I see a lot of individuals doing it, but I also see like it's a business. Then they hire people to do designs for them. Variety of different ways that this is created and produced.
What are some of the bigger websites that have more and better instructions? There's one you could tell people about if they wanted to peruse.
Bricklink actually has their mock. I've never gotten into it.
Oh, is it called Mock Showcase or something like that? Yeah.
Bricklink does a lot of mocks.
They have a page where you can go and download instructions. Most of those are just free.
A lot of people specialize in something. So rather than be all over the board, they get a customer that just wants Doctor Who, and they don't want anything else, so they just do all Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Or you have your military. Brickmania, I've seen them go off and do, they did the family vacation one from National Lampoon's Vacation with Chevy Chase. They did didn't they do that?
I believe so, yeah.
Station wagon with the characters and everything, and it was really cool. But it was seeing it at their booth that
was
just weird.
Brickworld.
Yeah. That's not their brand. That looks
what's that doing in there? It's really neat.
They did a Star Trek one as well, and I was kind of like, hey, there you go.
Yeah, it's cool, but it's almost like it needs to be its own spin-off, like subsidiary of Brickmania,
Yeah.
And so Battle Brick sticks to military. A lot of your custom minifigure makers stick to, like, we sell
characters.
Bricks, so he sticks to Star Wars because once you get a customer that's into Star Wars, then
you're gonna buy more Star Wars.
You're gonna lose them if you don't have more Star Wars products. They don't want military. They don't want battle babies. They want something specific. Whereas we've taken a little bit more of a shotgun approach because we are a little different because we're a retail store and we're a Bricklink store.
There's a wide variety of people coming through the door every day buying stuff, so we want to have something for everyone.
We not too many. If you're selling online, you kind of need that niche.
A genre, right?
Yeah, the niche. This is a good example of another niche right here. This is called the Cheese Shop, and it is a custom modular building. And we just bought a large collection of these, which you could probably see on another one of our videos.
Right there.
Linky link.
This is a really good example of buying instructions on the internet and then getting all your parts you need to make that specific build that's in those instructions that you just bought. So you buy the PDF for this, this for $20, roughly. All you get is the PDF instructions. You do get a wanted list from Bricklink, so you can download that wanted list into your Bricklink. And this one is actually, it's on Rebrickable. Rebrickable showcased it.
That's one of the sites.
Yeah, that's one of the sites.
This specific one.
Yeah, they did this specific one. And this was made by Bricks and Tiles. That's the name of his company. I'm not familiar with him. He's probably just a guy that works out of his house. And he does amazing builds on Stud.io. He can sell them and not ever even have to build them himself. On Stud.io, they have what's called render after you've built your model. And you can see the render of what you just built rather than having to take a picture of it. So this tank right here on this battle brick thing, you could build that on Stud.io, and then you could choose to have the lighting over here or over here. And it's better than any picture you could ever take. And all it takes is like a couple of clicks.
Exactly.
Is that when you see renders on submissions on Lego Ideas? Is that what that is?
Most of the time, yes.
Okay.
Very easy to get a really nice render on Stud.io and other programs as well. Mecha Bricks is actually a program just for making the render look even better, give it texture or really specific lighting. That's what you see when you see Lego Ideas, it's a render.
If you bought the $15, $20 instructions, and then you wanted to do the want list, and maybe you took a little bit of time and were a little more frugal and found the best prices and the best sellers and stuff, how much would this one MOC cost you, just in pieces?
It is hard to say. For example, this white snake up here, it's not common. It's from an Ninjago set.
I love how he used that for smoke, curling smoke. That's perfect.
It's a great design.
I would say this, okay, I've got the part count here. It's 4,518 parts. Now, if this were a Lego set, this would be $400 to $500.
Probably 500.
Okay. In my experience with custom sets, the Brickmania sets we were looking at online today were about $1 per part. But he's got, I mean, you're talking the best of the best. You know, you're talking the best design, the best parts, the best everything. This is a piece of artwork here, and this is going to be about 30 cents per part, at least.
Yeah, bare minimum.
And that ends up being $1,531.99, give or take a few bucks.
But what's a few bucks?
Yeah, at that point.
It's for an individual to part this out themselves and just buy it, not for resale, not for anything, just build it themselves, not paying themselves to build
Buying
it.
the parts off Bricklink.
Just buying the parts.
Doing all the work themselves.
Just doing all
You
the
would
work themselves.
probably have to get your parts from about 20 to 30 different stores.
Or more.
And it would probably take you a couple months, if not longer, just to get your parts in.
And then there's problems. You got to order more.
You've got to inventory your parts, make sure you got the right parts, etc. It looks fun buying instructions for something like this online. But what happens a lot to us is people come in the store and they're like, hey, if I give you this parts list of 4,518 parts, can you get those parts for me? And I'll just pay for those parts. So it's going to cost us about 30 cents a part. And it's going to take us months to get those parts. So the time, like we were talking about before, the labor.
We actually have to pay the people to get this stuff together.
Yeah, so if you're an enthusiast and you're getting these parts, you don't have to pay yourself. You know, you're just doing it in your spare time. For us, I actually have to pay somebody to get these parts and look for these parts.
And sort them.
And we've spent hours looking for a 10-cent part. Eventually we just give up on it and we're just like, okay, I just wasted a lot of money here. So I'm done. You also have to be willing to replace parts. I'm noticing on this building that there's just this one random brown plate right here. It really doesn't matter because it's on the side, and this is a modular building that's built to go next to other buildings. And maybe he just didn't have that one 1x2 in medium nougat. You've got to be willing to substitute parts if you need to.
I'm seeing on this one, which is a beautiful building, it actually has sand red in their grill tiles. There's also a few 1x2 tiles, it looks like.
Extremely rare.
So extremely rare.
Expensive.
Yeah, so like $1 a piece, $2 a piece. And so I think that in this design, he was supposed to have some 1x2 plates, which are even more expensive. But he's substituting them for lavender, it looks like, in this one little section here. You might not be able to see it too well in the video, but so it's like the designer of this is like, oh, that sand red looks beautiful. So he might have put it in there, and then the guy buying it, the enthusiast who's buying it is like, I don't know if I want to spend like $5 a plate. You know? So it's like, I'd rather do something else.
Well,
like,
that's the other thing with buying these designs. You may just look at the finished product and say, oh, that's beautiful, I want to build that, and not go through the instructions of the part list and not realize, oh, that's a $10 part.
Yeah.
Oh, I need 6 of those. I need that $2 part. I need 20 of those. And not realize how rare, because the designer just like, whee, he's just having fun and just
time.
making whatever. It's like, yeah, it's all in sand red. There we go.
And a lot of designers will be conscious of that,
Oh, yeah.
especially the good ones. I bet the designer of this
knew what they were doing.
Knew what they were doing,
Yeah.
and that sand red could have been available when he made this, and now all of a sudden it's not. It could have came out on a certain set that year, and it was everybody had it. It was available, and now they never put it on another set again. One thing that's interesting though, you get a list of parts for when you buy instructions for this. There's 4,518 parts on that list, and a lot of the parts aren't even going to be seen. There could be internal parts on this tank that are bright pink.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you use a bright pink part in a tank? I don't know if you've ever noticed the little brick heads that you build have bright pink brains.
Yes.
You never see.
the one brick in there.
Yeah, but Lego does do that on a lot of their kits, as they use, if the part's not going to be seen, they don't care what color it is. They're going to use the cheapest color.
I've heard they do that intentionally for contrast, so when you're building, their stuff is easier to find.
That's
and it's
I've never
not
heard that.
all gray or whatever.
Very smart. When you're getting those parts off that list, you don't always know if it's going to be an internal part or an external part.
Yeah.
So we had a customer give us a list recently, and this was as good of a customer as it gets, a friend of ours. He wanted the parts to build his own tank because he didn't want to pay $500 for this Brickmania tank. We probably, with as much time as it took to get all the parts, we could have charged him $500 for it, but we didn't, and he was also willing to just let us substitute parts. One of the problems is in that list of parts, we had no idea if it was going to be a visible part or not. We had like 3 different people fill the list. Who knows?
Yeah.
You know, you just got to use your best judgment and, not give him a pink part in case it needs to go on a tank.
Yeah.
So we just tried to give him dark parts, and it ended up looking good. He sent me a picture of it. It looked great.
We made an exception for this person, but if a customer comes in and says, hey, I have 4,000 parts, can you find all these for me? I don't like using Bricklink myself. You guys do it. What is the answer?
Yeah, we'll do it. You can give us a list. You can give us this parts list, and we will get it for you. But we have to charge you for our time. It's going to be a lot.
You're not going to like the price.
Yeah, but people still do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they want it, they have to do it. It's actually probably potentially cheaper to have us commission build you something than to work off of your parts list.
Because we will be able to avoid the sand red or the really hard to find specific details. We'll find another way to do it with a more
Plus, we don't have to follow those instructions and get those specific pieces. If Mark were to search for all these parts, it would take him
a long time for these specific parts.
Yeah, it would take him.
And you'd have to order a lot.
Yeah, most of it.
Wait on those to come in.
Weeks or months. Yeah, but he could look at a picture of this, and he could build this in how long?
A couple days.
Let's say 3 days max.
Yeah.
Potentially.
A very similar version of this.
Of course, Mark is a quick builder. You should see Mark build. It's amazing. In 3 days, he could have built this for you.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have your instructions for it because he built it.
Yeah.
Just
you wouldn't build it yourself.
Straight up design.
And you wouldn't build it yourself. And it might not look exactly like it, but it would look
very similar.
As good. Yeah. Instead of having, I think that's sand blue or medium blue windows, you might have
gray or white or some other color that goes with it.
Yeah, gray or white or something.
And this isn't even the craziest one. We have some that are bigger and more colorful and have even more rare pieces. These are amazing. They're beautiful. You were saying we'll probably never see these again once these are sold.
Oh yeah, once
no.
these are sold. And
these are they're all from the same
we got from the same person, yeah.
But they're all from the same designer too, right?
Yeah.
They were all.
Well, there's 3 different designers.
Oh, okay.
There's Brick Builder Pro is one of them, and he does a lot of stuff. I think he did the train that you guys.
Oh, that
fixed.
oversized train?
Yeah, the
Link up there.
and then bricks and tiles, and then parts and pieces or something like that. I'm
So
not sure.
this was an official Lego set. We're talking $500, probably
Mm-hmm.
$450 at the cheapest. If you were to part it out yourself, not paying yourself, and just pieces, we're talking over what you said.
Over $1,500.
Over $1,500. We are selling this for
$1,500. So
that is an amazing deal.
well, it sounds like a lot of money.
Yeah.
It really does. I was like, oh, it's just so expensive. If we were to build this from scratch ourselves, just to make, if Mark were to do it and make it look like it, we'd probably sell it for $600, $700.
Just for my couple days of time,
Yeah.
the pieces.
And the pieces that we already had using what we've got. So if you don't mind somebody else building it for you, that's the way to go.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just to get a commission build.
Basically, we're selling these at cost.
Yes.
In a sense.
In a sense, yeah.
What it would probably
Right.
cost you to try and do this.
Yes.
Not even counting your months of time.
Yes.
Yeah. The customer I bought these from, he assumed that we would take these apart and sell the pieces on Bricklink. And I was like, no.
Are you kidding me? All the work you put in there.
This is beautiful. This is a work of art.
Yeah.
This is just absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I would never want to destroy something like this.
Yeah.
Mark, on the other hand,
Let me at it.
Mark
So
is,
many good pieces in there.
Mark, Mark is a builder, and he would take
Dr. Frankenstein.
Mark would. He would,
It's true though. That's the sad part.
he would take professional photos of it.
Yeah, exactly.
It would
Save
be there,
forever.
it would be last forever, and then he'd disassemble it.
Yeah.
I do it every week.
Mercilessly.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. No. So if you are buying instructions, PDF instructions online, it's going to be a labor of love for you.
Yeah.
But it might be worth it. This is pretty fantastic
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah.
when you do get done with it.
And we have a lot of people ask us, my son is really into Lego and he wants to make it a career. You could be a Lego designer. It's difficult to become a Lego designer. I think a lot of the pay with Lego is that you get to be a Lego
Yeah.
employee. So
You're not exactly like a millionaire working
Yeah.
at Lego, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah.
And plus you have to do it on their terms, which is move to
Yeah,
Denmark.
you gotta live over in Europe and change your lifestyle a
You
lot.
could probably live in the States, but
Some people, not designers, but yeah. Anyway,
yeah, like master builders. or
another
something.
option is doing stuff like this and being a little bit more entrepreneurial.
Doing stuff. That's what I recommend to people. So as a retail store, we are successful because of our brand name. And it's really hard to do in today's day and age. And reselling Lego doesn't like it.
the Lego group doesn't like it.
Lego doesn't like anybody making money on Lego except Lego. So they don't support you. And so that's why Brickmania has to pay 10 cents to 30 cents per piece for their pieces. When you resell Lego, it is going to be at a slightly higher price. And it's just difficult. You know, it's difficult to source. The whole thing's hard. What's not difficult is doing stud.io and making mistakes and going back and redoing it and figuring out what you want to do, making instructions, and you could put together your own sets and sell them, or you could just sell the PDFs.
And let someone else deal with the hassle of sourcing the parts. And
A lot of people are just selling PDF instructions.
there's also a growing demand for that now. That
Yeah.
people are really starting to get engaged with Lego. They want to make newer, more beautiful creations. So
Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because the adult market is growing?
I think it's grown dramatically over the past 10 years. Before, Lego would have to put stuff on sale. Now they can barely keep it in stock. There's a huge difference in the way that they're selling sets. And they're marketing stuff 18 plus all the time now. It used to be kind of rare to see that really big, detailed set. Now it's like that's a large chunk of their lineup is designed for adult fans of Lego. There's some people that aren't even satisfied with that. They want more. And so they're looking for stuff like this, looking for projects, and they're getting more involved in it. So I think it's not going to get any smaller anytime soon.
That's like 21 plus.
I know, yeah. That's like, yeah.
You have to be legal drinking
Yeah,
age
exactly.
to be able to build that.
for sure.
We brought Nuketown out as an example of something we would build as a commission build, and it would be a lot cheaper that way than actually sourcing all the parts to do something. This is Nuketown from Call of Duty. It's a classic 1950s modern building.
Retro looking.
Yeah, that you get up in the top floor and you snipe people, and then somebody comes up behind you and kills you and takes your spot. It's just a lot of fun. The game's a lot of fun. The building's a lot of fun. It's neat and curvy and stuff like that. And I just did this. My son and I did it in the afternoon just because we were playing the game a lot, and it was like, hey, let's make it out of Lego. The sign doesn't really go on, and it goes over here. But this we're selling for $200. If you were to build this yourself and source the parts, it'd probably be $300 or $400
just for the plates.
If this were a Lego set, it'd be a couple $100. If it were a custom Lego set by somebody like us, it would be
more
$800.
Double that. Yeah, doing a one-off commission is not super difficult compared to making a whole line of sets. So.
And it's not cheap either.
No,
doing commission
expensive.
work is not cheap. You've got to pay for parts and labor. And it's like if you look at your bill when you go to a mechanic, the labor is
the most expensive.
So expensive. It's the same thing. I mean, you got to pay for a lot of labor.
So we're talking about building your own. We're talking about the cost of all this stuff. Let's get into the fall of Bricklink.
Oh,
and
right, yeah.
What actually happened with them?
Well, it's almost like a change. There was a problem, and they had to then sell.
I wouldn't say it was a fall. So, this is speculation. This is what we've heard.
Yeah.
So, let's start. So, Bricklink was an individual company. It was not associated with Lego. It was officially sanctioned by Lego. Lego allowed it to exist.
It was started by one guy, Daniel Jessic, and he was young, and he started it. I think he was in his early 20s, and he died young, tragic death. Just way too young. So his parents continued it on because it was such a good resource, and needed. And there was other things out there, but they just weren't as good. So somebody was running it for them, and they just couldn't keep up with the popularity, growth. It was kind of like a wiki thing for.
It was just a database at first, right?
Just a database, yeah. It's kind of a wiki thing, and users could. We actually had one of our employees could go on and make changes to parts, but then it's only as good as what the user's putting into it. A guy from South Korea, I think, came along and he bought it from the family. He was making changes to it. He came out with Stud.io. And
they were very ambitious with a lot of their projects.
It was fantastic. I think we met them at Brick World Chicago one year. They were trying to do different things. They had the mock shop. It was fine, but it was a lot of work, I think. And then when they went to do, this is what we've heard here, that what I just said was true. Now this is speculation of what we've heard, is that when they went to do their custom
AFOL designer program,
which is Adult Fan of Lego designer program, you could submit, kind of like Lego Ideas. You submitted your design, and then the winners, the top votes, were Bricklink was going to turn them into sets, which they had never done before, and they were big sets.
Yeah, all the ones they chose were all huge.
Big
hundreds and hundreds of pieces.
Yeah.
Kind of unusual pieces too. So
yeah, and from what we've heard is it costs so much money sourcing those parts that they took a big hit on that.
Yeah, it was not financially viable once it got to a certain level.
I think people bought them.
They did?
I think a lot of people bought them, probably more than they were expecting, because I remember seeing they were like 1,000% supported. Like they needed they were getting more than they were expecting, and then they had to order more parts than really were out there.
I think they pre-sold them too.
Yeah.
So they actually probably could have possibly sold them for less money than they cost. They seemed expensive, but
they probably should have been
we've
more.
been talking about, custom sets are very expensive for a good reason. Lowenstein Castle was one example,
and it was like $200 original retail on the program.
$250, and that probably should have been $1,000.
Yeah,
I mean it's a good,
especially if there's more than 100 sold, it's going to be outrageously expensive to get the pieces.
Yeah, because that's the funny thing is I don't know, Bricklink doesn't own any bricks.
Yeah,
that's what's so weird.
They own the platform,
Yeah.
not the pieces and the people selling them.
And they weren't Lego at that time, so they couldn't go to Lego and just get these parts made for them. They might have tried.
I think they were slightly involved with Lego in that process or something, but it wasn't enough. Enough to
so
help
they
them.
were selling these sets for far less than it cost them to make it.
Eventually, it must have become that.
I think so, yeah. and
Because the demand was much higher. Like, we could have absorbed some of that cost if it was a smaller, but so many people ordered it. It was actually too successful.
The volume that they're expecting was exceeded, and I think because of that, the amount of pieces they needed was exceeded, and then because Bricklink works opposite in bulk, the amount of pieces they needed more than they expected. It cost way more than they expected, I think.
So at that time, Lego was very concerned about sustainability too of their product. Lego bricks are non-biodegradable, so they're going to fill up landfills, and they're looking for more options to reuse their bricks. Really didn't have any options at the time besides donating them. I don't know how the option to buy Bricklink came up, but when they came along to buy it, for such a large company to buy a smaller company, I mean, they probably picked it up for a great deal for them.
Yeah.
And it just makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and that solves their secondhand market now for selling.
Their problem.
Yeah, it doesn't solve it, but it helps.
It gives them some knowledge and options that they didn't have before.
So, so if you didn't know, Lego owns Bricklink.
Yes.
It is the same company now.
And really, it hasn't changed. For me,
Minor
we
stuff.
We don't love Bricklink for selling on there or buying on there. We do it.
We have no particular love.
We do it a lot.
Yeah.
We don't. It's just a tool. We haven't seen it.
Minor name changes.
Yeah. Actually, it used to be down a lot before Lego bought it. It's still down a lot.
It's pretty much the same. There's a few people who complain about stuff, but it's functionally it's pretty much the same.
Well, from what I can tell and from what Lego initially said, they have kept to that promise that they're pretty much going to leave it alone. A lot of people speculated they were going to muck with the prices or shut it down, muck with the prices, like intentionally inflate stuff to have some more control or change what sellers can do. They've kind of left it alone and let the free market kind of stay where it was.
Hopefully they do keep that standpoint. Yeah. We'll see.
We'd rather it's working now, right? We can still use it now. So it's rather that than shut it down.
Yeah, it works fine for us. And there are alternatives out there, but they're just we haven't gotten into them.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a lot of work. Bricklink's enough work to begin with. I wouldn't want to
have another
use
brand,
another marketplace for Lego. If I were Lego, I would definitely want to own it because you've got Stud.io on there, which it really is fantastic. The instructions designer. I used to use LDD, Lego Digital Designer, or LDraw, and it was good. I liked it a lot. I made the Pokeball on there. A lot of people were making Pokeballs a while ago. I made this 6 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the first one out there that you could buy from somebody like us, but it was the first one that opened. And there's still a lot out there that you can buy that don't open. And it's like, why not? I mean, look, that's a great size.
Yep.
And we've even got a custom printed Pikachu to go on there.
How did we
It's
do
a very
that?
good seller.
How did you do that? How did you do the custom print?
We don't have a printer ourselves. They're like $20,000 printers. The pad printers are the UV printers. And also that's like a expertise level. It's a whole nother business. It would be really cool to be able to print our own stuff, but
too much work.
Yeah, I first started trying transfers. I had a friend show me how to make the print on transfer paper and then decals kind of, and I just didn't love it. It wasn't as good. So then I had a friend print the faces for me.
Okay.
That does have a $20,000 pet. That Pikachu, talk about an affordable mock. He's 3 pieces. However, one of those pieces is custom printed, and it does cost quite a bit of money to have that custom printed.
Even some of these mold their own parts and stuff, and that's we were talking about that earlier.
The gun on here is molded.
That's nuts to me. I've seen the resin printers. You can see the lines in them, and they have this really rough texture to it. But this is actually like injection molded or something.
That's what it is, yeah.
I've looked into getting molds done before. To get a decent mold done, you only get a certain number of parts out of a mold before the mold is no good anymore.
Can't take the heat anymore.
So an aluminum mold is more expensive, and it's like $10,000 to $20,000
for the physical mold.
Yeah, so there's a lot of upfront cost.
Yeah.
So that's why Brickmania did the Kickstarter campaign to raise the money to buy the mold to make the custom treads. That kitty was another idea. One of our customers gave us this idea, Matt Myers. He was making a Benny's spaceship, but Batman.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Great
oh,
idea.
you need a Bat Kitty to go with that. We invested a lot in Bat Kitty,
Yeah.
thinking she would do a little bit better than she's done. She sells. We sell her all the time, but
Was that a custom printed 1x3?
Yeah.
And a custom arch?
printed 1x3 and a custom printed brick arch. And she's just cool. She's
Yep.
really cool.
Yeah.
Another one of our custom kits.
It does match all the other Unikitties they made.
Yeah.
Size-wise, yes.
It looks perfect.
And Mark designed her. Oh yeah, you did do the artwork for
Yeah.
the face and the logo. So there's our Pokeball kit. We're not up to this level yet, and we're not up to Brickmania's custom printed boxes yet. We get the cards custom printed to go on the front of a clear box. We print the instructions out, and the instructions are in there. From other companies, you just get like digital instructions.
Yeah, you follow a link.
Yeah,
We-
I don't like building on a computer.
Yeah. I've never
I'm
done
trying to get away from screen time, so I like paper instructions a lot better.
it. When you buy these, not only are you getting a sweet deal at cost to you, but they also come with the USB for the instructions if you did want to take it all apart.
We've
build it
rebuilt
again.
sold 5 of these so far.
Wow.
And we have 17 left, I think.
Wow.
And I have no desire to sell.
Because you like looking at them.
They're beautiful.
He does come in every
It's
morning,
fantastic.
turn on the lights, and just
Stroll around through the store,
He gently strokes them.
dust them off. And then one of our customers designed this for us, Mark Yutko. He's a train enthusiast, and he needed the cross track for a train because Lego doesn't make a cross track.
that's insane to me.
Yeah, people sell the 3D printed versions.
I think they did at one point for the 9-volt, but they don't anymore.
They made a 9-volt cross track,
Super
and it's like
expensive.
$40, $50.
Oh,
And when we find one, it's like, woo!
Yeah, put that in
where
a
did this
case.
come from?
it gets a velvet pillow.
Yeah. So this one you can make yourself. It's actually a lot of pieces. There's a lot of pieces involved in that. It's only this big, but to make it functional for a Lego RC train, it just takes a lot of pieces.
So this is all. There's no specialized, like custom printed pieces or anything.
Just the flex tracks, but they're pretty common.
yeah, the Lego Flex Track, and that is common.
But those. I mean, everything in here is Lego.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
All of our kits, we,
So you just
we
build it?
try to use just Lego,
Yeah.
just unadulterated Lego, and of course, like the Dalek.
Occasionally printed.
We talked about this a little already. What would be your guys' advice to someone who wants to make their own mock? And what's the best way to start when we're thinking about price and being frugal about it and size and all that? What would be your advice?
So building a mock, not designing a set, right?
Either one.
Okay.
Either one.
I guess I could start with the mock. If you're building your own creation, first of all, you probably have some Lego at home already. You can get some really good ideas, even if you're not using the exact colors of what shapes you're looking for. Do some prototypes. And then if you need to order pieces, Bricklink is really great for especially smaller scale stuff. If it's a few hundred pieces, it's not too bad. Buying Lego sets that include pieces that you're going to use. So
That's something we haven't mentioned before.
Yeah, it's
trying
a-
to find stuff on sale that has the
Ninjago
colors.
has so many great pieces. You know,
That's one of the things that Rebrickable does is you can put your set numbers in there, and then it tells you what pieces you have.
Oh, okay.
so worth signing in and doing that as well. So it's fairly easy to get the pieces you want as long as you're careful. Even if it's a more expensive piece, you can kind of splurge a little bit, get a few for your creation, so it's perfect. Once you get to set designing, however, I think you want to cover that, Chris.
Would you definitely start small? Like, is this too
Oh, yeah.
big?
So
Or
or would
you go smaller
Not,
than
that's not a
this?
small creation. It's also very detailed. So it's a lot of design work going in there. Use a base plate, get a little more volume. You can build buildings like that. So I would say start small, do characters, fun little vehicles like that, and then get to buildings, landscapes, large structures. It kind of progress like a Pokemon evolution.
This is the biggest set we make. That's the biggest set we make. We've tried to make bigger sets. We
Yeah.
tried to make a custom modular castle.
Or like a
And-
haunted house we did for a little while.
Yeah,
too.
we did a haunted house. Oh, they were all just too big. If you want to make a lot of them, you just can't get the parts to
Yeah.
put them together. I would not start with something this big.
Okay.
It doesn't look that big, but it's
dense.
It's big.
Start with something like this big. Keep it small and fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
This one actually it's big size-wise, but just because the parts are big. These are actually a lot of Lego tires.
For anyone who may not know, what is this?
Did you do this one, Mark?
Yes, that's the 11th Doctor's screwdriver from Doctor Who.
Matt Smith's. This is a good complement to the Daleks that we sell, and this is a hot seller. This does very well. He's not the most popular doctor. He is a good doctor, I would say David Tennant, in my opinion, is the most popular, the 10th
I
Doctor.
believe so, yeah.
But we've made a screwdriver, and it's boring.
It looks very plain.
It's just a boring screwdriver. This one, it looks really cool, especially in Lego. And my son had a toy 11th Doctor screwdriver. This looks better than the toy, and his lit up.
Yeah.
This really looks good. I mean, this is as good as it gets, in my opinion. And we sell it for $20 to $25.
25, yeah, 24. Yeah.
Which is $24.99, which is to get. That's how much the toy would cost you.
Yeah.
It's not as cool as that. And again, this is solid.
Is that why we don't do lightsabers, custom lightsabers? Because they would be too
big.
expensive?
Yeah, we've done lightsaber workshops. We've got a great design for a lightsaber, thanks to a friend of ours, Rod. The workshop was 2 hours, so they paid us to be in the workshop, and then they had to pay for the lightsaber. It was like a few $100s.
Yeah.
You know, it was a lot of money.
Just for the help.
No, the whole. You
Oh,
got the
it was
whole
the whole-
sword.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you got the whole sword. We would love to do that. Though. Other people do lightsaber hills.
Yeah, there's other.
It's within that
Lego
size.
did it. Lego did the Yoda.
Yeah.
And that's some advice too to anyone wanting to get in the business of Lego. You know, don't become a reseller. It just costs too much money. We pay a lot of money for Lego. There's no such thing as cheap Lego. A lot of people ask us, "Hey, where do you get Lego cheap?" And it's like there's no such thing.
Yeah, it doesn't exist.
If you find it, you're lucky. And if you are a Lego reseller, you don't get to play with Lego.
No.
You don't. It's a business, you know.
You're just selling boxes.
If you design your own sets, you do get to play with Lego.
Yeah.
Especially if you like Lego, designing sets is, in my opinion, the best thing to do. And do things that other people haven't done. So the lightsabers, you can go out there and you can find lightsabers.
There's a lot of tanks, so it's a hard market to get into.
Okay.
Yeah. Mark also did the Demigorgon from Stranger Things, this is just awesome. And it looks great. It's 100% fully posable. Everything moves about it. In fact, we did a stop motion video where he was doing the floss and dabbing. I think it's on our website under our product page. You can buy this. We're sold out of this online right now. We've got to put more together. But everything moves on him. And Lego made the Demigorgon minifigure. And it's cool.
It looks nice, but it's stiff
But
compared to this.
it's a minifigure. It's kind of cute looking, and Demigorgons are not cute. this thing is a beast. I think we sell that for like $20 maybe. But that's a lot of parts. To get that many parts and put them together to look like that would cost you more than $20 for your time.
Would there be any advice that you would add to what he said if someone wanted to start designing their own stuff or
start small, do what you like, have fun with it. If you like Doctor Who, do Doctor Who, but do stuff that other people aren't doing.
or if you have a new idea, a new way to do it, I guess, that you haven't seen.
Yeah.
Try to innovate.
And stay in certain niches. Got one more here.
Oh,
we forgot to talk about the goat.
There he is.
Explain the story of this guy.
Steven and I, my brother, we like to build castle scenes, and one of the essential animals for castle scenes are like goats and sheep and other small herbivores that were common in the medieval era. Problem is, first of all, Lego's never made any sheep. Secondly, they did make a goat, but now he's like $50 or more, and we don't have any of those pieces, so we're going to have to improvise. You're going to have to use pieces to make a little animal. In this case, we're using a couple plates and a couple of bricks with studs on all sides, and those very handy binocular pieces to make a very as close approximation of a goat as you can with pieces that weren't designed to do that. So it is a very fun little build. It's also, I think you get 3 of them in that kit, so it's great. So you can have a little herd of goats going around, and that way, for what is this priced at? So $9.99, you can get 3 goats instead of paying $49.99 for 1 goat.
Yeah, the Lego goat is $49.99.
And it's great, but it's so expensive. So.
But you can't build it either.
Yeah.
So you you pay $50, you get your goat in the mail.
Yeah.
And there it is. You can't build it because it's just one piece. Whereas with this,
it's about the same
size.
size.
Build 3 of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
$10. Mark had this in a big castle build that he did at Brick Fair, Alabama, 2020.
Before
one of the last ones. It was
open
in January, mid-January, Martin Luther King weekend, and it was like the last major convention that we did before everything shut down because of the pandemic. He brought his cat. You won an award for that, right?
Yeah, staff favorite.
Staff favorite. Yeah, and that was a good show. There was a lot
was a great
there.
show.
So it was massive. It was 4 feet by 8 feet, roughly, maybe.
5 by 8.5. But yeah.
Wow.
5 by 8.5.
Yeah.
It was awesome. And then, of course, that's another thing he just totally disassembled.
Yeah,
Just
it's
took the whole
it's
thing
in
apart.
rubble right now.
Yeah.
But we put
The pieces.
we put it on display at our store, and he had these goats in there, and it was like, hey, this is just too easy not to.
People are actually
Turn
saying
into
they
a
loved
Lego
them. That was
set.
one of their favorite parts of the
Yeah.
shoot. Guys are like, look at the sheep and the goats, and we're just kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
And
there's some.
it is minifigure scale too.
They are.
And even Lego's goat that they made, the $50 one's a little bit big.
Yeah,
And I
just
know
a
this
little
because
bit.
I own goats growing
Yeah.
up. We also do the sheep.
Yeah.
We have the sheep kit, $9.99.
It's very similar, yeah.
And this, like I was saying before, I did the packaging artwork on that
Mhm.
because Mark showed me how to do it, and it is.
Looks great.
That's where I have a lot of fun
Mhm.
doing playing with the images like that.
Diego?
It's set number.
Oh,
This
okay.
is set number EIEI go, whereas the sheep are EIEIO.
Got it.
So I don't know. I think we put it in a random number generator. and
Yeah,
came up
yeah,
with
yeah.
it.
Sure. There's
Set
no
number.
pun or anything there.
So we do have a lot more sets coming out. We've taken a hiatus for a couple months. I don't know why. I guess we've just been busy.
Yeah,
But we're gonna come out with a lot more custom sets.
we got great ideas.
We have a lot of really good ideas, and then
Small stuff, big stuff, everything in between.
small stuff.
Okay.
Stuff that's
Yeah.
anybody can buy.
Can you-
not too
Affordable
expensive.
Can you
Yeah.
tease us a little bit? What are some of the things we're thinking about?
Bling.
Bling.
That's all I'm going to give you today.
And then the Battle Babies, we're gonna extend that
Yeah,
line.
that's gonna
and we didn't
finish
talk
up.
about the Gatling gun. It is really good to keep things, that can go along with each other. So like you've got your Doctor Who stuff, you've got your Pokemon stuff. It'd be nice to come out with more of the same line so people can have more of something,
Yeah.
a collection of something. So we do have a few more of the Civil War sets. The Gatling gun was a Civil War set. We've got the Civil War soldiers. I think we might have a tank come out. Not a tank, a tent.
yeah.
Civil War tent,
Camp
the general's
site,
tent,
yeah.
and then maybe a horse pulling some things.
Comes with the stickers to make them Union or Confederate.
Mhm.
Yep. Then the train line.
Probably do more stuff like that. We have some crossings and other
Just
things.
because Lego's not doing it.
No?
I mean, if they're not going to do it, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
People are doing some really cool 3D printed train stuff.
Yeah.
But that's just as expensive.
Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for coming on and imparting your mad skills and mad knowledge, pouring it over me. Let me digest it. And then I walk out and forget it for some reason. It's recorded for posterity.
There you go.
Thank you so much. We are available as a full audio podcast. You've heard me say that before. Go to your normal downloadable things and find us. If you're not subscribed already, please subscribe. Consider sharing this video and all that stuff YouTube people say.
Have fun,
Thank you.
Brick on.
Brick on. That's our closer now. Brick on.